Oh, can you guys hear me now? The mic didn't turn on for whatever reason. Well, good morning. Good morning. Okay, thanks for letting me know that the sound wasn't coming through. Is it okay now? Okay, thank you, Cindy. Well, I was just basically saying good morning to everybody, so good morning to you all. But let everybody know where you're from or what part of the country you're from, because it's always interesting to see where everybody is around the world and where you're tuning in from. I do know that a few of you are from Australia, and there's a few of you from Canada, and everybody else is all over in different parts of the country. So, hey, Kathleen. Okay, well, a few housekeeping notes that I wanted to do. If in case you don't know how to do this, in the chat box, what you could do is, whoops, there's certain commands that you can run if my keyboard will cooperate. Linda, turn your volume up on your side because it's on full blast on my end here. Yeah, in fact, I can hear myself coming out through the speakers on these headphones, which I'm not wearing right now. So if I can hear it, it must be really loud on my end. I wonder if, does this help? Maybe I need to move the mic a little closer. Was trying to get it a little off to the side so that it's not in the camera shot as much, but maybe I do need to have, okay. Because I can see that the mic signal is coming all the way through. Let's see if I do this. Maybe that'll help. Okay, that seems to be better. Okay. Maybe I need to switch mics next time, but yeah, I know this mic is a little huge, so you need to see this beautiful face, right? All right, so just a little bit of a housekeeping note here. Some of you might be familiar with this from other YouTubers that do the same thing, but you can actually run some prompts on your own. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to so if I type in exclamation commands, and you can do this as well, it'll give you a list of commands that you can type in. So for example, if you wanted to get the supplies list for today's project, you can type in exclamation supplies, and it will give you the brief supplies list that we have for today's project. Exclamation project. Again, I'll tell you what the project is for today, but most of you probably already know just by reading the description on this video. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be doing a giveaway today, but if there were to be a giveaway, you can enter exclamation giveaway to find out about the prize. And I misspelled giveaway. Giveaway. Okay, I forgot the A. A's are important. But those are some commands that you can run on your own. You can do it at any time throughout this broadcast. But if you're watching the live replay, or if you're watching the replay, those commands will not work. So just be aware that this is being broadcast on April 24th at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And there you guys go. Some people are already running the commands. There you go. And thank you, Delia. She's reminding everybody to give this video a thumbs up. That does help us out. Okay. Okay, it looks like we got a little bit of an audio problem because some people are saying that they can hear me, but the video's not in sync, and some people are also saying that the video's in sync, but they can barely hear me. Try turning up or checking the volume on your end, because again, I do see that the signal is coming in very loud. Okay, let's get started with today's project. So this is the block where I made two of them, two samples here. One of them was not so well done, and one of them was kind of well done. If you recognize this block, some people do refer to it as Delectable Mountains, in which there's different ways that you can actually make this block. I'm actually going to be using a strip set, so it's a little bit more cumbersome to use a strip set, but you get the variety of colors, which is what I was looking for in the background here. Well, actually, this is my background fabric. This is my print, but I kind of swapped the block invertedly. So this is what we'll be making. Yeah, so a lot of as Kim Burse is saying, Delectable Mountains is a beautiful block. I made one with a 10-inch square. A lot of the tutorials that are on YouTube use a 10-inch square to make the block. I'm doing it a little bit differently because I am using strip sets here. But the procedure, once you get the strip set, is going to be kind of similar. There is one point in which the layout, or how you lay out the block, that's going to be a little bit tricky because we are using strip sets here. Okay. Now, I should also show this. Originally, when I test made my first block, I came out with this. These were made with 2.5-inch squares, and this is only a fourth of the total block. And I wanted to actually make, well, in order to get the whole block, you need 4 of these. And I figured this is gonna be a humongous block if I make it this large. So I went with a smaller strip size. Now this particular block, it was 10 inches by 9.5. That would have been almost an 18-inch block total. That's a little bit large for me in the project that we're doing here. So I decided to actually not use a 2.5-inch strip, but use 1.5-inch strip instead. Now you could very well use 2.5-inch strips. Again, it's your block, it's your quilt. You do what you want to do with it. So just know that if you're going to go that 2.5-inch route, you're going to come up with a very huge block, in which that'll be okay if you're making an entire quilt out of this block. But for our intents and purposes, I'm going to make a smaller size block, which is going to be challenging. Okay, but I thought this was actually very pretty because I like the rainbow effect. And well, maybe I'll say this, and maybe I won't joke about this, but I wanted to call this block Florida. Now, if you have been keeping up with current events, you'll understand the reference point to that. So, okay. But this is the block that we're going for, or that I'll be doing. Each one of these strips is 1.5 inches. Now, the challenge to this block is the size of it. And just that the block in total measures to about 9.5 inches by, what is this, 6 inches? Yep. So it's just the size of each of these individual pieces that's a big challenge. And so it's a good challenge though. But even if it's not perfect, like my points are on a lot of these spots are not matching up, like there and here. But even then, as long as you kind of get it in the general area, you'll be okay. Okay, so what do we need? Says, hey Tiffany, good morning to ya. Says, great name. Okay, you understand the reference point to that. Okay, so on the background squares here, I got, well, I don't know why you need, I got 3 of them. You only need 2, but these are what I'm going to consider the background squares, even though they become the main part of the block. And they're 5.5 inches for 5.5 inch squares. And you'll need 2 of them. Okay. Then I have here 5 1.5 inch strips. Now these I actually cut at the fold, in which you're only going to need maybe about 22 inches in length to make this block. Kim, yeah, you're kind of correct. The block, if you turn it to the side, like usually a Delectable mountain is done this way in a vertical manner. When you turn it to the side, it does kind of look like the Southwest Star, is what some people are referring to. Hey, Miss T. So I got 5 of these 1.5 inch strips. Now I ran out of the red fabric. This red fabric that I was using, I kind of ran out of it, so I just grabbed the pink instead. But you can choose whichever color that you want to use. I'm just going to go with this color scheme because, well, I need to use up some of these fabrics in order to make room for new fabrics, right? So I'm just going to use this up. Now, generally, here's the quick rundown of what I'm about to do. We're going to make a strip set using these strips here. We're going to sew them all together. And the pressing, in terms of the seam allowance and how to press it, I did try and press all the seam allowances to one side. When I did that, for me, the block or the strip set didn't come out as accurate as me just pressing the seam allowances open. So I'm going to press these seam allowances open. You can very well press the seam allowance to one side. That's your choice if that's easier for you. It's just that in terms of accuracy, I just found it easier to actually run or press the seam allowances open. And so that's what I'm going to do. Now, once we get the strip set sewn together and pressed, whichever way you want to press them, we're going to subcut it then into a 5.5 inch square. Now when we're done sewing all of these strips together, it should measure about 5.5 inches. Well, give or take, of course, your 1/4 inch seam allowance, but if you're in that general area, you're good, which is why we have the 5.5 inch background square. So we're going to subcut that the strip set into a 5.5 inch square, and this is where my camera starts acting up. Sorry about that. Then what we're going to then do is take a strip set square, match it up to one of these background squares. We're going to make half square, the 2 at a time half square triangle method. Insert your own music there. And we're going to make half square triangles out of them. And that's where we're going to rearrange it into a certain block. Then we're going to subcut the block again into various strips, and we're going to sew those strips together. Then finally you'll come out with this. So yeah, sounds easier, but it's a little bit of a challenge because of, again, the size of these blocks, or the size of each of these individual pieces. So let's get started making our strip set. So I'm gonna take these two, and let me make some room here. Yeah, the black really does make it pop. Okay. And I'm starting to sew. And again, if the camera starts shaking, I do apologize about that. I haven't been able to solve the issue with camera vibrating the entire table. And hopefully my machine cooperates today, because I know the bobbin's been, or the bobbin thread has been acting up, and I can kind of hear the bobbin doing something weird. But thread hasn't broke yet. Knock on fake wood. So what is everybody doing this Sunday morning besides watching me? Hey, Teresa. Why me knitting? Okay, why not? Okay, so I got the first 2 strips sewn together, and I'm just gonna finger press the seam allowance open there just to get it started. And then I'm gonna take this to the iron and really press it down. It's a lazy watch Eric day. Yeah, it's a Sunday morning for me. Well, actually it's 8 a.m. here. Well, almost 8:30 now. Okay, while that's going on, I can actually sew. Oh, looks like I sewed the wrong 2 together, but that's okay. That's the final strip. I'm just gonna sew off on the little piece of scrap there. And we got the second one here. And so I'm just going to finger press for now this seam allowance open just to get it started. I need one of those pressing bar things because I tend to press a lot of my seams open and they don't always come open so easily. My quilt project says I got my 2 blocks done from my yesterday all-day attempt. Clarity came to this morning. Isn't that always the case, where after you're done sewing, then suddenly you realize what you were doing? Good morning, MJ. My partner in crime. Okay, I'm going to sew the last strip on. If I can get it lined up, there we go. Cut the little piece off there. Sew off on this crumb piece. There we go. And I'm going to finger press my seam allowance open here. Take this to the iron and let's get this really pressed down good. There's the other one. Okay, so now we sew these 2 strips together and we got our strip set made. Let me line it up a little better there. And I'll go from this end. There we go. So win strip sets. So win strip sets. So win sets. Okay. press these open. Okay, not sure what happened there, but it didn't catch. Huh, funny. Or maybe I started down too low. Oh well. I'm gonna just cut that part off anyway, so, but that's weird. I've never seen it do that. Wait, do I have bobbin thread? No, the bobbin's there. Yep, it's there. That's weird. Never seen it do that before. Okay, we'll take this to the iron. Bye, Nancy. I see. Okay, so here we go, back from the iron. And we got our strip set all pressed. Again, I did press these seam allowances open here. You can press them over to one side if it works better for you, or if it's easier for you to do it that way. Again, I'm pressing them open only because when I did on my test blocks, when I pressed it over to the side, the block didn't come out right. It came out slightly off. And so I kind of figured that maybe if I press, or when I did press it over to one side, it's sort of, the block came out to the, I wouldn't say 100% accurate, but a lot more accurate size. Okay, so let's start subcutting this. We're gonna subcut the strip set to 5.5 inches here. So I have it folded in half, and we're gonna need at least 2 squares out of this. So this is why I didn't want the mic so like that, but okay, so I'm just going to straighten up the edge here. And first of all, let me line this up a little better. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm matching one of the lines on the ruler to one of the seams. And I do have it folded in half, so I was kind of feeling to make sure that the seams are in the same spot on the front and the back. And we'll cut it up there. Can I save these? No. Put that in the trash. Then we'll flip it over, line it up again, because I did move it and I didn't quite get that edge off. So I'm going to trim off a little bit, open it up, trim it off. I'm just trimming off a little bit more because of this. For whatever reason, that seam didn't catch when I sewed it together, or it may have come out. Okay, now we got it. So lining it up again, and I'm just trying to make sure that the seams are generally on the front side and the back side generally line up there, so that should be good. Well, we're going to take the cut edge. Now I got my cut edge on my left hand side here, and because I'm right-handed, let's see, we're going to go 5.5, so switch rulers. Okay, this should be 5.5 inches, which, yep, it kind of is. There's a little sliver at the top there, and that might be because I didn't line up the fabric correctly, so let me reline it. That's a little better. So I got my square ruler, and it's a little larger than 5.5 inches. We can trim that down. And that's because I didn't line up the fabric there. Okay, now it should be good. Okay, I'm gonna just trim that top portion off. Got two of them up there. Oh, missed that. Looks like my rotary blade needs a little bit of a sharpening or a little bit of freshening up. Okay. Now this is my scrap piece. I'm gonna hold on to this just in case I make a mistake later. That'll be, well, you guys know me, I'll make a lot of mistakes. Hey Vivian. Okay, so we got our two squares here. So both of these should measure 5.5 inches. Yep. 5.5, 5.5. Yep, we're good. The two background squares now. I call these background squares, but they're actually the main part of the fabric, or the block actually. Now before we line them up, I'm gonna take a ruler. We're gonna mark a diagonal line. We'll be making half square triangles out of them using the 2.5 or 2 at a time half square triangle method. So I'm gonna draw a diagonal line here, and we are gonna sew 1/4 inch away on both sides of that diagonal line. Oh, I'm gonna draw the other one too. Duh. Let's see. I don't need this anymore. Okay. So here's what I'm going to say about lining up your fabric. There was a few, on one of the trials that I did, I actually had it where the stripes on one block were vertical and the stripes on the other block were horizontal. And when I sewed them on like this, I came up with a block where the stripes came out in all different directions. So to keep it consistent, here's what you want to do. You just want to either make both of them go vertical or both of them go horizontal. And in terms of the diagonal line, make them both go in the same direction here. So let's get, so again, we're going to sew 1/4 inch away on both sides of that diagonal line. And let's get this one sewn. And I'm just going to flip it around. Okay, smells like I can tell my neighbor is cooking some pork and beans because it smells good right about now. She always has these big Sunday family dinners at her place, and I'm always jealous. Okay, so I cut right on that diagonal line that I drew, so, and we're gonna square these down now to 5 inches. So I'm gonna take my square ruler, and if you've never seen me do this before, what I'm doing here is from the square ruler, I'm putting the 5-inch mark right on the seam here and here in this corner. I'm sorry, this camera doesn't zoom in, so I would give you a closer look, but again, right at, let's see if I can zoom it in. Hold on, the camera's gonna shake a little. Okay, so here, I don't know if that, did that make it any better? I hope it did. Well, right here at this point and here at this point, I'm putting the 5-inch mark from the ruler right on the seam line. And what I am about to do is it lined up? And I can trim off that. And I can trim off that. We'll turn it around. Now I got the 5-inch mark. Okay, so I'm lining up the 5-inch mark here as well as at the bottom here. I can trim off my dog ears. And it's just, for me, I just find this a much quicker way of trimming half square triangles down. And so what we're left with is a 5-inch half square triangle. Ta-da! Class dismissed. Eric, I have a charm pack of neutrals and wasn't sure what to do with them. Thank you for this idea to put them to good use. Oh, you're welcome, Tracy. Okay, so that's one. Oh, didn't trim this one down, so let's trim this down again. Let's see, 5-inch mark here. Where is my mouse? Make sure I'm in frame. 5-inch there and 5-inch there. Yep, looks good. So we shall trim this down. And we trim that. Turn it around. And we'll put 5 inches. Whoops. I almost cut it to the wrong size. Okay. Cut the dog ears. And ta-da! You got a 5-inch half square triangle. Okay. Now, if you followed other tutorials that use or that have created this block using a half square triangle method, because they use, instead of using a strip set, they used pretty much a solid piece of fabric. At this point, you could then subcut your individual strips. But notice, because we used a strip set, this strip set is going vertical, this one's going horizontal. So you do have to kind of be aware of that. Now, if I were to subcut these as it is, eventually I'll get a block that looks the same, in which then it won't come out eventually like this. So let me get this set of half square triangles done, and then I'll give you some tips as to how to actually lay out the entire block before you start subcutting your strip sets from these half square triangles. So let's get this set of half square triangles done. Oh, did I just break a thread? Yep. Okay, bobbin thread actually went out this time. Okay, that'll be a quick fix. Hang on. Oh yeah, this one, well, it did a number. Got really tangled up back under there. Pull it up. So down the second side. Okay, I'll cut this, cut my thread, cut this little piece of scrap off. We'll move this to the side for now. Thank you, Teresa. It's a cool looking block. It is. And I believe Kim said this earlier, or Kim Burris was mentioning this earlier. You know, if you actually did this with a string block, it would look really cool. Okay, trimming down to 5 inches now. Looks pretty good. Trim that. Trim that. Pull that thread off. That didn't come off right. There and there. We got another half square triangle. Last one. Inches, so there it is. Wait, no, there we go. Yeah, like they always say, measure twice, cut once. sometimes I measure once, cut once, cry, and do it all over again. With those colors, it's hot. It's hot and it's sexy. Thank you, Marianne. She's reminding people to give a thumbs up. Okay. Okay, now let me, sorry, the camera's gonna shake a lot again, so let me, because I'm gonna zoom the lens out. No, we want it to go. Is it like this, or did I do something else wrong? Okay, what I'm doing here is I'm trying to make sure that I want all four of the backgrounds to meet here in the center, but I'm actually looking at the orientation of each of these strips, in which I do want it to go all vertical like that. And so I must have sewn something wrong. Yep. Because I got these two matching up and then these two. Actually, these three matching up. Okay, so yeah, this is where even for me, I get confused at this because, again, it's confusing. So these two are actually not correct, which if I do it this way, nope, that won't work either. And I knew I was going to do this. Okay, so these are actually not right. Which is why I kept this spare piece. Okay, here is the issue. Ah, okay. So on one, I got the diagonal going from the bottom left to the upper right. I'm supposed to go from the upper left to the bottom right. That's why. So if I turned it this way, yeah, I'm supposed to go this way. And I know I have an extra piece here, so let's try that again. Looks like this pen is running out of ink. So we'll cut this one to 5.5. Somehow I knew I was going to do this again on the live, because I kept doing it in the practice pieces. And if it still comes out wrong, we'll just sew it as it is. So I'm going in this direction. tell I had a lot of practice with this block. I should have named this the confusion block. Okay, yep, that's right. There have been days that I've wound up with a lot of crumb pieces. Well, yesterday was one of those days for me, Kim. Okay. So what I was looking for was making sure that when I put the background prints together, I wanted to see what orientation the strips were going in. So when you do make your blocks, make sure that you do have it so that on one set, one set you have your diagonal line going from upper left to the bottom right. Then on the other set you have your diagonal line going from the bottom left to the upper right. Okay. The mistake that I did before was I had both the diagonal lines going in the same direction. That's what I was not supposed to do, and that's what I kept doing yesterday, and I should know that. So don't do as I say, just do as I do. Okay, but you'll know you'll get it right because when you open up your half square triangles, when you put the background prints next to each other, the strips will either be vertical like this or they'll be horizontal like that. They'll be in the same direction. So as long as you got your strips in the same directions, you're okay. Now we square it up to 5 inches. And if you're smart, even though with that extra piece, don't throw it away. Save it because just in case you make a mistake, you don't have to start from square one again. Whoops. Okay, but I did not do that error on purpose. Well, actually, it's a good thing I did the error because now you guys know. So when you make your own block, don't do what I did. 5 inches there, 5 inches there. Cut, cut. Hey, Sylvia. Oh, Polly, don't throw away. You're so sweet. Give it to me instead. Okay. Oh, I need to trim up one more. Ooh, this one's really tight. Okay, but we'll have just a sliver to cut off at the top. You know what? It'll be faster if I just use my snips to cut his dog ears off. Okay, now let's see if this works. So I got, nope, these are the two wrong ones. I got this going there. I got put this one there. I'll put this one here, and voila. Look at that. Okay. So I put all of these background squares in the center together. You could very well do this and create your block this way. Okay. It'll be the invert of here. So because I put these background squares in the center, this is the block that it created. Now if I were to put the strip sets in the center, then the block would look something, or it'll be the inverted part of it. So it's just kind of your choice as to how you want to lay it out. Okay, but again, what you're really looking for is making sure that the strips are all in the same direction. Doesn't matter if it's vertical or if it's horizontal. You just want to make sure that the strips are in the same direction there. Now, since on this block we have the backgrounds in the center, I'm kind of looking at this and saying, well, let's make this one with the prints in the center. So let's do that. But first, I'm going to get the seam allowances pressed, and again, on that diagonal seam, I'm going to press it open. This is just to actually deal with the bulk a little better, or maybe I'll just press it over to the side. No, press them open. Okay, you can press your seam allowance as you wish over to one side, or press them open to whatever you feel comfortable with. Again, for me, I just found it to be a little bit more accurate when I pressed it open as opposed to pressing it over to the side. Okay, but I'm going to take these to the iron and we'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. Actually, all I got to do is swing the mic over here because I actually have a separate monitor in this direction here. So let's do this. Okay, camera's moving, so excuse the Blair Witch Project here. You'll get a quick view of my little setup here. There is a third camera that I was trying to play around with, and this is the camera that is over my pressing area. But this camera, for whatever reason, kept shutting off. So I have to see what's going on with that. But hi, how are you all this morning? So I'm just pressing my seams open here. Yep, open. Again, you can press it over to the side if you want to. I got my cheap $29.95 shark iron here from, where did I get this? Target. Ooh, burst of steam just came off and I just steamed my finger. First sip of coffee. Thanks for the reminder, Kim, because I need my coffee. You know what? Someone told me actually that I shouldn't drink on camera. Well, granted that they don't know the story of the elixir. But I was like, okay, I won't do it anymore, which is why you don't see me pulling out the elixir anymore on the videos. But behind the scenes, yeah, I'm drinking. Because sometimes you just need it. Yeah, my quilting project, it was a bargain buy, but you know what? This iron has been to war with me. So I love it, which is why even though I do have a much more expensive iron, I tend to use this one a lot more. Because it's a workhorse. And if it breaks, then Oh well, I mean, it's not like I broke my bank with it, so. Heather, Sunday is a day of rest, so put down the chores, get into your sewing room. When you're talking, your mouth goes dry. You need that drink. Exactly, Polly. And, oh, this seam allowance is really tight. Okay. Let's press it open. What was the reason for no drinking? Someone actually made a comment that I shouldn't be drinking on camera, so I stopped doing it for a while, but I think this person didn't know the story behind the elixir, so they didn't start from the beginning of the series. And someone also made a comment that when I did, what week was that? That week where I was experimenting with all the vegetables and fruit juices, they kind of made a comment about saying how they didn't understand why I even put that in there. So, you know, kind of comes with the territory. You roll with the punches. I didn't take it personally, but since then I kind of laid off doing any more elixir segments. Okay, got these pressed. They're all flat, so let's go back to the sewing table. Now, Blair Witch Project is going to happen again. Sorry. Oh. You can kind of see I'm laying out all the blocks there. Trying to get the quilt, or trying to decide how I'm going to lay out all the blocks. But this is 1 through 38, I think. Yep. Last one we did is right there. I gotta say, this is one very eclectic looking quilt with all the different colors. It'll be very scrappy, I'll say that. Okay, so let me switch cameras now. Good morning, Janice. What happened here? Okay, I'm not sure what even happened here because I just totally grabbed the wrong 2 blocks. I was actually supposed to iron these 2. And I ironed the wrong 2. Oh well. Okay, I'll just finger press it for now. And see? This is why live TV is much more interesting because you get to see all the bloopers in the background. Okay. Let me just press this real quickly. Yeah, that's the right one. Okay. Now I can kind of understand why Eleanor Burns always does this when it's the wrong piece. Okay. And I'm going to do it this way instead, with all my colors in the center. Okay. So let me grab my design board because I want to make sure that I keep the pieces in order. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be subcutting these. If you want to do the math, you can do it. I never bothered to do the math, and so the one of the pieces is going to come out a little bit, shall I say, not in an equal spot. But what we're going to do is we're going to take each of these units, or each of these half square triangles, we're going to be cutting them into 1-inch strips. Okay. So it's going to be a little bit more confusing because once you cut it into 1-inch strips, then you're going to reverse the strip. So this side will be on this end here. Okay, you'll see what I mean. I'm going to take this piece now. And I'm just going to start cutting 1-inch strips off of it. And do your best to keep it in order at this point because it's going to start to get confusing. Cut that off. Now, if you're someone that is going to get easily confused, I would say do one block at a time, or one of these half square triangles at a time. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to sew the wrong piece or the wrong two pieces together. Okay. So here is my original half square triangle that we just did. Now I'm going to take this piece, I'm going to move it to that end, shift everything down, take this piece, move it there. This piece now go, whoop. This piece goes there, see? See? And goes there. Swap these two. Because I can't tell you how many times I had to get Jack out yesterday, or when I was doing my test blocks, because I sewed the wrong two pieces together. Or I had it in the wrong orientation. Okay. So let's do that again. Okay, so here's my original half square triangle. I'm going to take this piece, put it there. Next piece, put it next to each other. This one, lift it, goes there. That piece goes there. My coffee is made from beans, so it's a vegetable. Just consider it your first serving of veggies for the day. Well, then in that case, I'd have my full serving because I'm actually on my 4th cup today. Okay. So now let's sew these strips together. I'm just going to put, whenever I sew strips like this, I tend to go from the right to left. But if you're more comfortable going from left to right, it doesn't really matter. Just be consistent with it, or whatever makes sense to you. Now these strips are actually not of equal size. Especially this one is going to be a little bit smaller than the rest of them, but it's not so much so that it'll be that noticeable in the final block. take the next two. So here's the first two that I sewed together, and again I'm going to press my seam allowance open here. Okay, we'll get this pressed down a little better at the iron. In fact, let me hit it with the iron quickly. So on this one. Okay, this was the second set that I sewed, and I'm gonna finger press it for now. In fact, where's Woody? I haven't used Woody in a long time. Ain't that right, Woody? Yeah. You know, sometimes I get my neighbors walking by my window here as I'm filming, and they see me talking to my tools. They think I'm crazy. Well, they think I'm crazy just in general anyway, but. Okay, we'll sew this last piece on there. So my quilting project, you know, back to the drink thing. Yeah, I actually talked with Angela Walters about that when she was doing the Midnight Quilt Show. You know, she was making references to the wine that she would always drink, and she actually did get comments about that. They just, when it was Craftsy that she was working with, Craftsy actually took those comments down, but you know, she just took it in stride. I mean, it kind of comes with the territory on YouTube when you know, not everybody has that same level of sense of humor on things, and so people were kind of making comments to her about that wine. And so I was kind of expecting comments like that to come through. Fortunately, I didn't get a ton of them, but then again, I don't have the same following as Angela Walters. Patty just made a fresh pot of coffee. Yum. Join the club. Who's gonna know if it's real lemonade or Mike's Hard Lemonade on camera? Late husband's diabetic doctor told us that coffee is actually good for glucose levels, something about the way the caffeine works, but I don't remember how. We just always had coffee. Yeah, Kim, there's actually some truth to that because caffeine does burn up some levels of sugar as well as glucose. So I asked my own doctor about it. He says that it can help in some cases. It can help in, or it will be actually work against you in other cases. So he told me try it. Um, I was already a coffee drinker even before that. So even for my doctor himself is a diabetic, which is why I kind of trust him on this, some of the advice that he gives to me. And he says that all he does is he doesn't even eat lunch, or he has like a big breakfast, and then he doesn't eat lunch. He just drinks cups of coffee throughout the day, and then he has kind of a sensible dinner. But he did say that coffee, it can either help a diabetic or it can work against a diabetic. Just depends on how your body reacts to caffeine. Of course, you should always consult your doctor for medical advice. Don't take my advice about that because I'm not certified. But I have heard that coffee does help with glucose levels. Okay, so this is what one of the units will look like. It's going to be a lot taller than it is wider, so don't be surprised by that, or don't think that it's going to come out to a perfect square, because remember we did subcut it to 1-inch strips, and every time you take a seam you're going to lose about a half an inch. And so it, again, this block, it is going to be a lot taller, or it's going to be a lot bigger in one direction as opposed to the other. So it's not going to be a perfect square, but this is the unit that went here. So you can kind of see the size difference once we take those seams in. You lose about 2 inches just in the seam allowance. My gosh. I guess what Bonnie Hunter says is correct, that you lose about 25% of your fabric in the seam allowance. Is it 25% or 30? I forgot. Does anybody know? In one of Angela's bloopers, she shows the clip where she spills the wine. Yeah, I did see that. I asked her about that, and that it was like, I kind of asked her, was that staged? And she's like, nope, that was real. And it's funny because she was also saying that up until that point, she'd never spilt the wine, but that was like a couple seasons in, and then it finally happened. And so people, all the backs, or the camera crews and all of that, were kind of making a bet on when that would happen. And it happened. That's why she was like, oh, there's the wine. Okay, there it is. Okay, so let's do the same thing with the rest of these units. Do this one. Again, we're subcutting this down to 1-inch strips. Do we have any tea drinkers in here? I'm trying to lay off coffee so much, and well, just to get a little bit of a variety, I started drinking some tea. I did find one particular tea which I didn't really buy it because of the type of tea it was or the taste of it, but more or less what the company is doing with it. It's a company called A Thousand Villages, and what they do is they go around the world and they look for women entrepreneurs, in which when they do find them, they kind of work with these entrepreneurs and how they, I guess in this case, how they harvested the tea. What they're looking for is certain factors to say, is this tea harvested in good quality? Is it actually helping the women entrepreneurs? And so what they're trying to do is they're taking out the middle people and they're actually giving the women or the owners of these businesses from around the countries or around the world more of the profit. Usually when you're when you're selling products, you do, like, there's a lot of different middle people in the whole process. And so everybody takes their cut of the profits. And so they're trying to, this is an organization where they're trying to give more of the profit directly to the source. So maybe I'll talk about them in the next video. But okay, I got my strips cut and I'm starting to sew again. I'm just wondering, what else does anybody drink tea? Okay, Phyllis is a tea drinker. I love my Starbucks chai tea with oat milk instead of milk. Okay. Southern style sweet tea. Okay. Irish breakfast tea is a super black tea. Oh, never heard of that. I like my tea like my fat quarters cheap. Hey, who doesn't like cheap? Or we shouldn't say cheap, it should be inexpensive. Tea drinker from the South, very sweet. Okay. I love tea, but drink mostly coffee these days. Okay, I gotta look that up. Irish tea, okay. Tracy Alberts, I drink tea and coffee. Okay. Patty G, no clue. I just performed a search for drinks on the emojis. Karen Mew, you're a tea drinker. All right. Tea gets me moving in the morning. That's great, Robin. It's starting to get me going in the morning too. I'm trying to get off of coffee so much because it is staining my teeth real badly. Oop. Seam allowance flipped back on itself. Okay, here's the other two pieces. Let me hit this one with the iron. Woody, here we go. Hey Regina, didn't see you come in. Dried dandelion, ginger, fresh mint cloves, different concoction. Ooh, that actually sounds really good. Hey Jam, didn't see you come in. Sorry I missed you. Math Geek, hello there. You drink both tea and coffee. Okay. So there's that too. And let's sew on this scrap. Let me just hit this with an iron real quick. Combination of Earl Grey with a hint of lavender. Ooh, that does sound good. I got some dust in my glasses now. Oh, wait, did I sew this on wrong? No, like that. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we'll fold. So the final two pieces together. Okay, so here we go. Lady Grey has a tint of lemon. Ooh. Lemon and tea. There's something with that combination that goes really well. Or lemon and Earl Grey. I've done that before. Okay, I'm definitely going to have to rewatch because I finished last week's and started this week's with the scraps and got to the HST part and now lost. Tiffany, I thought you would have been done by now. Okay. So there it is. Okay, the second one. Now, like that. Okay, so Tiffany, I think you got it to the half square triangle part. Just make sure that whatever you do, the strips are all going in the same direction. Again, if I put, doesn't matter if you put the backgrounds together or if you put the strip sets together. Okay, just make sure that even if the backgrounds are together, you got the strip sets going in that same direction. In this case, I have it here horizontally. If you're going to do it vertically, make sure that all the strip sets on all four of these pieces are all going in the same direction. And at this point, since you got your half square triangles, whatever layout you decide to do, again, I chose to do the layout where the strip sets are meeting in the middle. You could do it where the backgrounds are meeting in the middle. But whatever you decide to do, just keep, from this point on, I'm just subcutting each of the units down to 1 inch subcuts. Okay, and there's a total of 5 strips. And that last strip, if you want to do the math, you can do the math. But I didn't want to do the math. And even though that one last strip is a little bit smaller than the others, you really can't tell the difference. So I figured there's no point in trying to figure out what the math is. And even if we do the math and you want to make it to 5 equal cuts, it's going to be some weird measurement like 1 1/16. So I figured at that point, there's no point in getting it exact. So just do your 1 inch subcuts, and then you can sew the block together. So we'll do this one. One inch there. inch there. Oops. 1 inch there. So I know somebody else, I did see a question kind of roll up. Let me see if I can scroll back up a little bit. Okay, so Terry L asked the question, when did I start my quilting journey? I started quilting back in, oh gosh, when was it? 2010? No, 2000, somewhere around 2010, 2011 is when I actually started my quilting journey. And those of you who heard this story, please apologize for me repeating it again. But originally when I started sewing, I wanted to learn how to sew my own pants. And because most of the sewing classes here in Southern California are during work hours, I do have a regular 9-to-5 job. And because a lot of the sewing classes are in between those hours, I couldn't take a class in terms of learning how to sew pants. So instead, that's when I looked at YouTube and I typed in the description, or I typed in learning how to sew. And lo and behold, the first video that I saw was a woman in which her first line was, "Hi, this is Jenny Doan from the Missouri Star Quilt Company." And so I figured, I knew quilting was not the same thing as sewing fashion, but I figured, hey, at least I'm sewing, or at least I'm learning how to sew. I couldn't find a good tutorial about sewing pants. So I figured, okay, let's just watch this video and maybe I can just learn how to sew. And since then, never looked back. Fell in love with quilting and stayed with quilting. And in case you're wondering, no, I never did learn how to sew those pants. And so the first time that I went to Missouri Star Quilt Company, it just so happened that Jenny Doan was walking in one of the shops, and she spotted me like in the store because of my height. I am 6 feet 6 inches tall, so yeah, it's kind of hard for me to hide. But she spotted me in the store, and I was like, okay, this is Jenny Doan. I was kind of getting like all celebrity struck, and she just started talking to me, and I told her about this story, and she laughed. And since then, you know, at times when I go to like some of the big quilt shows, every time we run into each other, she'll always ask me, so did you ever sew those pants? And I'm going, no. So yeah. In fact, when myself and Tiffany were at the QuiltCon this past February, we did run into them. We actually ran into all three of them. It was Jenny, Natalie, and Misty. And again, she asked me, did you ever sew those pants? I'm like, no. Yeah, but they're such sweet gals. I love them. Well, honestly, I don't catch every single video that they do, but when I do watch them, it's always a pleasure to watch what they're doing. Terry, oh, yep, use a straw. Use a straw to keep the coffee and tea away from your teeth. You know, sometimes I get so lazy that even after I make a pot of coffee, I don't bother pouring it out from the carafe. I just grab a straw, put the straw in the carafe, and just start drinking. Don't judge me. Oh, Kim, I will have to take you up on that offer because I still need to learn how to sew those pants. And so the next time I see Jenny, I can tell her I finally sewed those pants. I love their Fridays when all three do a version of the blog. They're good designers. Oh, the triple play. Yep. That's when I do catch the tutorials. It's interesting how, even though it's all the same block, just by turning it or just by doing something different, the three of them can come up with something totally different. Okay, pressing. I have a favorite mug. It's got minions. It says whatever. Yeah. They're coming out with one more Minion movie. Or is it. No, is it a Minion or a Despicable Me? I forget which one it is, but I did see the trailer that they are coming out with a new movie in that series. Can't wait for that one to come out. I love those Minions. Okay. Can get this one pressed open. And then okay, we'll hit this one with the iron. Okay, so we got the two here. And we got this one goes there. Now, last one. We'll do 1-inch cuts again. Now, if you're an organized person, which I'm not, but you could have actually just done all your subcuts and all your sewing at this point altogether. It's just for me, I get easily confused, which is why I decided to just do this one unit at a time. But I could have actually, or if you're an organized sewer, you could actually just do this last step where you're cutting these 1-inch strips and just cut all of them at the same time and then sew all of them at the same time. I'm not that organized, in which I learned the hard way yesterday, or when I was doing my practice blocks, learned the hard way that, yeah, it's not a good idea for me to do that. So in order to avoid the confusion today, I'm just cutting it one at a time. Put that off, and I'll take these two. I'm going to leave that middle one on so I can sew it on in the middle. Okay, so here's the first two that I sewed. Oh, come on. There we go. Grab my woody. Okay, that just sounds a little vulgar. Don't worry, Kim. Don't worry, Kim. No judgments there. I'm a grown adult and I still love that Despicable Me series. They're cute. What can I say? Okay, sewing on the middle strip there. My quilt projects this morning has been delightful. Thanks, Eric. Oh, you're very welcome. Oh, by the way, my quilt projects I did send out. I'm not sure if you're getting any kind of notification. Well, probably not, but I did send out the charm packs in which I do see that it was delayed a little bit at the Los Angeles airport. But they have informed me that it has left Los Angeles and is in transit to you. So it should reach you by sometime either Tuesday or Wednesday of this coming week. Okay, I don't know if she heard that, but or I can reach out to her on Instagram. Okay. That's right, Dale. We're all big kids at heart. We never really grow up. We just grow older. So, I actually attended a seminar earlier this week. You're welcome, my quilt projects. And what the speaker was actually saying was that you don't grow old because of your age. You grow old because you stop laughing. And I thought that was a very interesting way of putting it. And so the whole lecture was all about how to find a balance in work and personal life, as well as just finding joy. And so he ended it with that. And I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I know some people that are like 80 years old and they act like they're 23 because they never stop laughing. I had a horse they called Woody at the barn. Used to make all kinds of jokes about my half-done Woody. Okay. Did I sew this on wrong? Yep, I did. No, that's right. Just had it upside down. I was like, oh gosh. Went all this way, got it right, and then, but nope, it was just upside down. Okay. That's the last one. Oh, my thread broke. Oh, okay, at least it broke when I chain pieced it, not when I was piecing. Okay, pressing this one in, open. Minions are awesome. Yes, they are. Black in the center and scrappy on the outside. That would look good, actually. Who wants to grow up? Not me. Not me either, Vicky. Okay, so on this case, I did prints in the center. And the other block, where is it? I did the prints on the outside. Oh, looks like my camera went off. Okay. I think the battery's dead. Okay, so on this case, I did the prints on the outside. Here, I did the print on the inside. Did the camera go off again? Nope. But looks like maybe my face cam went off. I think my battery just died. Yeah. Okay. So here's with the prints on the outside. Here I'm about to do the prints on the inside. Of course, I could just easily turn it around and just do that. Now, some of you are all saying that maybe we should have done a black background with the prints on the outside. That will look good too. Okay. But since I did the background on the inside on this one, I'm going to turn it around and do the prints on the inside here. Okay, so let's get this sewn, and it's just a matter of sewing the blocks together. Actually, let's do it this way. And we'll sew these two together. And I'm just going to finger press this one open for now. Okay, so notice there's a lot of seams in this one. So this is the other reason why I think when I did press the block open as opposed to over to one side, the overall size of it came out a lot more accurate. I'll get this one pressed open. And we'll put these two together. Well, yeah, goes like that. And we sew down the middle. Da, 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 da. Okay, that middle seam is going to be hugely bulky. So let me just get this pressed down. Let me actually hit it with the iron and get everything smooth and flat. Okay. I'm as young as my gums and older than my teeth. I like that one, Dale. So here is the final block. And so now there's a million different, well, there's a million seams that are supposed to line up, but even if they don't, you don't really see them until I point them out to you. Like, for example, right there. Yeah, that didn't line up very well, but you know what? The thing is so busy in and of itself that you probably won't even notice it. So I wouldn't worry about lining up every single seam. Again, since you are working with smaller pieces here, it gets harder to match up the seam and keep if you want these seams to line up, then it is important to actually do your cutting as well as your 1/4 inch seam allowance much more accurately. But if you're like me and you really just don't care, as long as it's in the general area, it's not that noticeable until someone actually points it out to you. So again, if you want to use bigger strip sets, now for those of you who came in late, this was actually my sample block in which I made it out of 2.5 inch strips. But this is only 1/4 of the unit. So if I were to actually make the entire block out of this, it would be an 18-inch block, and I was not about to make an 18-inch block for our purposes in this series. So, but which is why I opted to go with a much smaller 1.5-inch strip. But again, you can make this out of with 2.5-inch, or if you have like a jelly roll, you can make a whole quilt out of this. It'll be a big quilt and it'll grow really fast because you're making 18-inch blocks here. But I wanted to make something a little bit smaller. Now, Notice it's not a perfect square. It is longer in one direction than it is wider. I believe this is, if everything goes right, this is supposed to be a 9.5 by, what is it, 6? Now, I'm about a 1/4 inch off. So this is actually ending up to be about 9 3/4 by 5 3/4. Okay. But it's supposed to be 9.5 by 5. 9.5 by 5.5. I forgot what the math is, but if as long as you're in a 9.5 by 5.5 inch general area, you're good to go. Now I am going to trim some of it down because I do see that some of these went a little wonky. Trim that off just to line it up a little better. Trim that down. And we'll line this up a little better here. Oh yeah, this one's really off. Oh, let me go down to there so I can, yeah, that's really bad there. And I'm just gonna trim to there. And I need to resharpen this blade. Oh, didn't quite go through all the way there. Oh, no, it didn't go through there. Yep, got it. Okay. And we will get all of this out of the way. So there's the block that we just did today. Here's another sample block that I was doing earlier. You can, it's your choice whether or not you want the print on the outside or if you want the print on the inside, that's your choice. Of course, your own fabric, whatever fabrics you choose to do, that's your choice as well. But, so here's this week's block. Okay, Delectable Mountains. Now there's other video tutorials out there that use that create the same block, although they don't do the strip set method. And so what they usually do is they'll have like either a 10-inch or a 5-inch square, and they'll make you do the half square triangles. But I wanted to put a little bit more variety of the color. So, which is why I opted to actually use a strip set. Now, you can use a solid color if you want to, or a solid fabric. Choice is yours. It's easier to do that way, but giving us a little bit more of a challenge, I decided to actually use a strip set. Now, again, the methodology is the same. Once you get your strip set sewn together, just make squares out of that strip set, subcut them, and you'll make half square triangles out of it, pairing it with some kind of a background print. Okay, so that is this week's block. We've been on here for over 2 hours. Thank you guys for your very, very long attention. And sorry that my camera gave out. And we're still working on some of the kinks with the audio. But thank you guys so much for all of your support and being so patient with me. Okay. And as always, go out and create something. Take care, guys. Have a great rest of your day.